The Supreme Court granted bail Friday to former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in the CBI and ED cases against him for his alleged role in the Delhi excise policy matter, saying there is not even the remotest possibility of the trial being concluded in the near future. Sisodia was arrested by the CBI on February 26, 2023 and by the ED 12 days later. The bench of Justices B.R. Gavai and K.V. Viswanathan directed that Sisodia be released on a bond of rupees 10 lakh and two sureties of the like amount. In the present case, in the ED matter as well as the CBI matter, 493 witnesses have been named. The case involved thousands of pages of documents and over a lakh pages of digitized documents. It is thus clear that there is not even the remotest possibility of the trial being concluded in the near future, it said. The time has come for the people of Jammu and Kashmir to get an elected government through assembly elections, Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar said in Jammu on Friday. The time has come to take forward the dreams of democracy you people have seen and shown by us turning up in large numbers and standing in long queues at polling stations during the recent Lok Sabha elections, and to give you an elected government through assembly elections, he said. The CEC, who was accompanied by Election Commissioners Gyanesh Kumar and SS Sandhu, did not share a timeline within which the electoral process will be completed. The state level review has been completed and the Amarnath Yatra is also going to conclude on August 19, he said, adding that on our return to Delhi we will have an assessment of the security situation and the availability of forces before announcing the election schedule. Aman Shehrawat was just another wrestler when he crouched to grab Toy Darain Cruz's right leg. By the time he got a tight grip, twisted it mercilessly and slammed the Puerto Rican on the mat. Shehrawat was an Olympic medalist. Continuing the tradition of an Olympic medal in wrestling, the 21-year-old clinched a bronze to take India's tally at the Paris Olympics to 6. This was also a wrestling medal in the fifth State Olympics for India, a run that began with Sushil Kumar in 2008. He might have stepped on the mat on Friday evening, but Shehrawat's actual bout took place the night before with himself. Before it ended with a sense of relief and happiness, Friday morning for the wrestling fraternity began with a feeling of residual dread. Shehrawat returned to the athletes' village Thursday night nearly a kilo and a half over his competition weight of 57. This was normal, but Vinesh Phogat's unfortunate fate a couple days ago led to slight anxiety. And it was not just the case of Phogat that played on their minds. Alireza, the 2021 World Championship silver medalist in the 57 kg weight, had failed to make weight before the preliminary rounds on Thursday. That in a way was beneficial for Shehrawat, who could have faced the Iranian for a medal depending on how the draw would have played out. Unsurprisingly, there were a few jitters even though the weight he added was normal. After his semi-final ended, Aman had put on 1.5 kg weight. Indian coach Virendra Dahiya said it's natural for every wrestler. He did some mat training for 1.5 hours, then at around 12:30 am we made him hit the gym. He returned to his room at 4 am. At 4:15 am his weight was all fine and under control. He then returned to his room and rested. Shehrawat said, it was tough to sleep. I just waited for the time to weigh in. He stood on the weight scale at 7:15 am and once it was confirmed he had made the cut, Aman had some protein for breakfast. 12 hours later at dinner time he stepped on the mat and gobbled up a Puerto Rican. He began nervously conceding an early point and both wrestlers traded takedowns in the first period but not bothering about defense. But once the nerve settled, Shehrawat used strength and long reach and phenomenal upper body strength to leave Cruz bruised and in tears. Shehrawat won by 13-5. It was a trademark Shehrawat performance whose upper body strength this. Shehrawat was 10 years old when he lost his mother, who suffered from depression. A year later he lost his father, who could not bear the demise of his wife. At 11, Shehrawat was orphaned. This medal is for them, Shehrawat said. They didn't even know that I became a wrestler and there is something called the Olympics. Back then he didn't know. The 12-year-old stayed with his uncle, but a few months later he was brought to Chhatrasal, where under a residential program young children were admitted and molded into champion wrestlers. The coaches at the fabled academy did not check Shehrawat's potential. They took him out of the sympathy, thinking if nothing they would at least be able to provide the scrawny, underweight and shy young boy with the bare minimum 2 proper meals a day. Shehrawat, his coaches say, took to the new environment like a duck to water and submerged himself into the austere life of a wrestler. Wake up before the sun would rise, climb ropes that are displaced from a giant tree, grapple in the mud and train on the mat. Tapasya, penance, they call it here. The kind of lifestyle that has produced world and Olympic medalists. Chhatrasal's place in the Indian wrestling is undisputed. Each of India's male Olympic medalists in this century, Sushil Kumar, Yogeshwar Dutt, Bajrang Punia and Ravi Dahia, have either spent their entire life or at some point trained at this North Delhi facility. It is not a place for the faint-hearted. However, the Akhada produces battle-hardened wrestlers. The first full-fledged session of the 18th Lok Sabha ended on a turbulent note in the Rajya Sabha on Friday as opposition parties and Chairman Jagdeep Dhankad engaged in a verbal duel, and the India bloc of parties even mulled submitting a notice for moving a no confidence or impeachment resolution against Dhankad. The session, which was to conclude on Monday, adjourned sine die. Dhankad and opposition MPs had been sparring for some days. On Thursday, the chairman even left the house in a huff amid the opposition's protest over the disqualification of wrestler Vinesh Phogat. Opposition sources said they had been discussing the idea of giving notice for the removal of the chairman for some days and that all the India parties were on board. On Friday, there was a fresh face-off as the opposition benches were up in arms over BJP MP Ghanshyam Tiwari's objectionable remarks about the leader of opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, on July 31. Amid the commotion, Samajwadi Party MB Jaya Bachchan told the chairman that his tone was unacceptable. Opposition leaders claimed that more than 80 MPs had already signed the notice, but with the session ending, the parties were discussing whether to move ahead with the notice and, more importantly, when if they decide to go ahead. There is no clarity yet about the technicalities of moving such a notice. Now the House is not in session. At least one senior leader told that there is now no looking back in the plan. Opposition leaders know that the India parties do not have the number to force Dargar's ouster, and that the notice will be a way of making a political statement. The Joint Parliamentary Committee on the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024 has been given time till the last day of the first week of the new Parliament session to submit its report. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju Friday moved a motion in Lok Sabha for constitution of the committee, which was approved by the House. The Joint Committee will have 21 members from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. The Lok Sabha members are these and these. The 10 Rajya Sabha members are these. Rijiju said that the quorum of the sitting of the Joint Committee will be 1/3 of the total members of the committee. Lok Sabha also recommended to Rajya Sabha to join the Joint Committee. On Thursday, the government introduced the Waqf Bill 2024. However, the bill was referred to a Joint Committee of Parliament after the opposition MPs in the Lok Sabha protested it. The bill proposes several key changes, including allowing a non-Muslim chief executive officer and at least 2 non-Muslim members to be appointed by the state government to the Waqf board at the state level. It is also proposed to bring the district collector as the arbiter on whether a property is Waqf property or government land. In the first high-level visit to Maldives since President Mohammad Muizzu came to power, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday met Maldives Foreign Minister Moza Zamir in Malé to discuss all areas of bilateral cooperation to deepen the partnership. Maldives is one of the cornerstones of our neighborhood first policy. It is also one of our vision, Sagar, as well as of our commitment to the global south. To put To put it in the words of my Prime Minister Modi, for India, neighborhood is a priority, and in the neighborhood, Maldives is a priority. We also share the closest of the bonds of history and kinship, Jaishankar said on Friday. India's partnership with the Maldives is based on our deep desire to work together for each other's welfare and interest. It is a partnership that has enabled us to always swiftly and effectively respond to challenges as witnessed in the past, the External Affairs Minister said. Jaishankar arrived in Malé and on a 3-day official visit to reset the bilateral relationship with the Maldives. This was a reciprocal visit after Zamir visited India in the May this year. Jaishankar said Maldives occupies an important place in India's vision of neighborhood first, and that he was looking forward to fruitful engagements with the leadership of the Maldives. Soon after landing at the Vellona International Airport, where he was greeted by Foreign Minister, Jaishankar visited the Maldives Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We will be continuing our discussions on all areas of our bilateral cooperation, reinforcing our shared commitment to deepening our partnership, Zamir said in a post on X soon after the meeting. When students in Dhaka brought down the Sheikh Hasina regime for riding rough side over democracy, one song seemed to tug at their heartstrings. They collectively sang poet lyricist These and These, blessed in Madarin. On a day when a statue of the founding father of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was vandalized, there is a hope that a part of his legacy may last. One that has not been hammered down in a brutal rewrite of history. Will the new dream that students, technocrats and opposition parties envisage for themselves be bound by memories, or of the shared Bengali culture and identity that Mujibur advocated, becoming the Bangla Bandhu? Banga is the key word here, not the ancient kingdom but a civilizational construct. While he fought for the territorial sovereignty of Bangladesh tied down by borders, he became the thought leader of a united Bengali consciousness, a borderless world of idea and art. For many of us growing up in Calcutta, his bust figured alongside literacy grids to remind us that he campaigned a movement around the language we were born into, its emotions and associations, and its riverine flow of shared traditions that defied both politics and religion. It is true that the Bangladesh Bhasha Andolan or language movement began primarily as an assertion of the right to reinstate Bengali culture and language as the official credo of a new nation. It was not just about the strategic comfort of geopolitics from India's point of view, it was about the importance of linguistic diversity and preservation worldwide. That's why February 21, which is marked as the Language Movement Day in Bangladesh, was recognized in 1999 by UNESCO as the International Mother Language Day. Mujibur's nationalism was more cultural, ethno-linguistic, and about the right of people to live with their heritage. That's why the appeal of the language movement extended much beyond its immediate political outcomes or sub-nationalism. When Mujibur Rahman chose Rabindranath Tagore's composition Amar Sonar Bangla for the new nation's anthem, a song that was written to protest the British partition of Bengal in 1905, and invited Qazi Nazrul Islam to move to Bangladesh and became its poet laureate. He liberated cultural legacy from being a hostage to politics. He embraced what they embodied, a love for their roots and a liberal and secular spirit. Rivers and waterways have been the connective tissue of both nations. This has led to riverine culture where customs, rituals, nature worship and even festivals like Durga Puja are shared by communities on both sides of the border, regardless of religion and geography. If anything, the river is a binding force that has inculcated the accommodative spirit among people. Durga Puja, which emerged as a symbol of the Swadeshi movement and Bengali identity, it is as much a popular art and cultural event in Bangladesh. Bon Bibi, the guardian spirit of the Sundarban Delta, believed to protect fishermen from tiger attacks, is worshipped by both Hindus and Muslims. Her worship has become a subculture so strong that it featured in a song on Coke Studio. Bangladeshi actors, writers and poets continues to be feted, and people-to-people contact has only thrived in a safe space but by beheading the statue of Banga Bandhu, attacking an Indian cultural center and claiming August 5 as their real Independence Day. Neo-patriots are snapping the umbilical cord of shared origins and unseen history. Perhaps my people with radical opinions like Manuel Hassan Noble, a runner-up in Sa Re Ga Ma Bangla, who questioned the use of Tagore's composition as Bangladesh national anthem, will weigh in. Are the DNA strands twinning on their own or being forced apart? The sub-quota debate has begun on a false note. Instead of addressing some real problems and genuine apprehensions with the Supreme Court judgment, the debate has been distracted by red herrings. It needs more light than heat. The biggest problem is that many supporters of social justice have assumed wrongly that the Supreme Court verdict is about diluting the existing system of reservation. A plain reading of the majority judgment authored by the Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud and the judgment by Justices B.R. Gavai makes it clear that this verdict is very much in the line with the legacy of progressive jurisprudence on social justice that upholds caste-sensitive affirmative actions. If anything, the apex court has deepened the quest for justice by foregrounding the concerns of the least advantaged and most stigmatized communities placed at the lowest rung of the caste hierarchy. CJI Chandrachud's elaboration of the principle of substantive equality that takes forward the legacy of the N.M. Thomas judgment and would act as a bulwark against any future attempt to dismantle affirmative action in the name of merit. Besides this generic but mistaken impression, there are some specific but equally misplaced criticism. First, there is a legal constitutional objection that the court has usurped the domain of parliament. The reiteration of formal legalism reminiscent of E.V. Chinnaiya judgment is deeply flawed. The court has neither carried out the subdivision nor even mandated it. Whether and how the subdivision will take place is for the legislature to decide or for the government to implement. The apex constitutional court has done what only the judiciary could have done, namely clarified that such an exercise is permissible under Article 341 of the Constitution. The second criticism about the Supreme Court passing such a major order without authentic empirical evidence is factually incorrect. The Census of India provides authentic and granular data not just of the head count but also of the occupation, family asset and educational attainments of each of the scheduled castes and tribes at every administrative level. The accompanying chart presents a glimpse of this data from the latest census of 2011 for the proportion of the graduates or above within each SC community for a few states. The conclusion is evident. There is nothing homogeneous about the educational disadvantage of Dalit communities. Take Punjab, the state that gave rise to the legal case. The level of graduates among Mazhabi Sikhs is less than the half of Hindu Balmikis, whose level is less than half of the Ravidasi. Just look at the number of Bhuiya and Musahar in Bihar, Madari and these. Finally, there is a political objection that sub-classification would create political rift within Dalits. Frankly, the ground reality is that the social life and political expression of diverse SC Jatis is already fragmented and fractured. In fact, the only way to create unity within and between categories is by creating broad consociational arrangements. This can be done if voices from the relatively less advantaged communities within Dalits would acknowledge the agency of the most advantaged SC communities who have won a hard-fought legal fight. Unfortunately, the insinuation of social division at this stage echoes the anti-reservatism rhetoric of the upper caste elite. Once we set aside these misconceived criticism, we can confront some legal apprehensions and difficulties that need to be dealt with. First, there is a real possibility that the license of subclassify may be used as a tool of political expediency. If not as a weapon to punish the communities not aligned with the ruling party, the BJP has already misused OBC subclassification in some states for the purpose. The verdict provides some safeguards against this possibility as it requires evidence-driven classification. It would be necessary to specify the nature of this evidence besides the census and economic census data that is already available. It would be necessary to have a nationwide caste census of all organized sector jobs and high educational institutions. Second, we cannot rule out the possibility of subclassification being used as a ploy to reduce the number of eligible candidates for higher jobs and using the not found suitable route to first keep the positions vacant and then transfer them to the unreserved category. This can be remedied by a rule that any unfilled post in the subcategory of SC and ST may be transferred to another subcategory of SC and ST but cannot be transferred to unreserved. Third, there are multiple problems with the sudden application of the creamy layer doctrine of the SC and ST. One of the issue of creamy layer was not framed by the court and litigants did not yet get a fair chance to contest this point. The CJI has wisely kept quiet on this issue and he was not required to address it. 2. While there are drops of creamy individuals and families among Dalits, there is no sociological evidence that the SC communities have already formed a creamy layer, which requires intergenerational transfer of privileges, assured social status and stable social networks. 3. The exclusion of creamy layer would reduce the pool of eligible candidates even further to open the way of transferring posts to the unreserved category. While it is true that the exclusion of creamy layer is not an operational direction in the judgment, there is a real fear that observations by 4 judges in a 7-member bench could be used to challenge any subquota policy that may not use the creamy layer criterion. If this issue is not clarified in a judicial review, Parliament may need to step in to remove this confusion. Finally, there is the issue of the impact of this verdict on the scheduled tribe. While the case was argued substantively on the social reality of the scheduled caste, in one sense this was unavoidable. There cannot be two different interpretations of Article 341 and 342, one for SCs and another for STs, but the fact remains that the nature of internal differences and the very logic of the reservation are substantially different in the case of STs. It may be prudent to hold back the substantive application for his verdict in the case of STs till the apex court finds an opportunity to get into the specifics of the reservation for scheduled tribes. Instead of protesting against the idea of the subquota, the politics and policies of social justice should focus on correcting some flaws in the present judgment and move on to the real long-term issues, enhancing SC/ST reservation as per the current population of SCs and STs, removal of the 50% ceiling and deepening and broadening of the social justice apparatus beyond public sector jobs. India's greatest living Olympian is madly in love with what he does, and it is giving him nothing but grief. You feel it in his words and the long pauses, you hear the pain in his voice and can see a lump in the throat. Medal alag cheez hai, this and this. It is not regret. Chopra is quick to emphasize when he started he did not even dream of being at the Olympics. He did not have an athlete physique or the background. पता नहीं कैसे आ गए यहाँ तक. He smiles, journey सही रही है. Whatever medals were there to win, I have won them by God's grace. Less than an hour ago, Chopra has done what no Indian has in an individual event at the Olympics. Follow up a gold medal with a silver. He has the same set of medals from the World Championship. He has conquered the Asian and Commonwealth Games and the Diamond Leagues. Between winning the Tokyo Gold and Paris Silver, Chopra competed in 18 international competitions. In each of them, he has been on the podium. The 26-year-old man standing on the other side of the steel barricade is a basement of Stade de France. France is not here to talk about the medals either. He is on the quest for the perfect throw, but the harder he chases it further it's going from him. I am pushing myself right now despite the current state of my body. Chopra adds, I have not been able to throw from the full runway. Maximum athletes will have 40 to 50 throws in one session. Mera kya pata, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks I will have one session. I have the fear of getting injured. Chopra gets emotional, but these are not the emotions one most expected. This is an athlete who just a while ago made the spear travel of 89.45 meter his best throw of the season, the second best in an Olympic final, where the quality was so high that the distances of the top 6 finishers were better than Chopra's gold medal winning throw in Tokyo. Chopra, though, is not satisfied. A groin injury scuttled all his plans and ambitions. It's been a recurring problem, one that first surfaced in 17, got treated multiple times, but it kept on bothering him. Last year, a doctor advised Chopra to undergo surgery that, however, would have severely impacted his medal hopes here, not knowing how long it would take him to recover. The injury and the constant fear of aggravating it has not allowed Chopra to explore his full range. It slowed down his run-up. Chopra admits, if you see my previous competition like 18, I was really fast on the runway, he says. Consequently, it has impacted his overall technique. Right now, I am forcing myself. ज़बरदस्ती खींच लेता हूँ. As a domino effect, the block leg and other techniques desert him in key moments. He relies on his biggest strength, the arm. I trust my hand. If the rest of my body does not work, झटका तो मार ही लूँगा. I can execute the whiplash action. But when blocking leg and other technical things do not fall in place, until that point is very tough to throw. Until the legs don't support, it's very tough to rely just on the upper body for full power. Everything goes to waste if the legs does not work well. This is an injury prone sport, unnatural for the body. Chopra points to bronze winner Anderson Peters of Grenada. Even he has something in his left thigh. Then he turns to gold medalist Arshad Nadeem. आपको भी है. Nadeem nods his head sideways. Chopra smiles. Good for Arshad that he does not have any. A ripple of laughter lightens the mood in the room, and Chopra keeps it like that even as he continues to lay bare his raw emotions. In the build-up to the Paris Olympics, he wanted to compete in more tournaments, but he had to make sure the groin was not overworked, else there was a risk that the injury would flare up close to the Olympics.